So you want to make your game more cottagecore? Well, here's the video for you. Here's a bunch of things that I think that would look really good in a cottagecore themed world. So yeah, if you're interested in that, stick around and I'll let you know. An important thing to make sure your world is cottagecore, you have to make sure you have an established colour palette for your area. So we've got a bunch of different colours. The main things that you need to think about is making sure you have a stone combo and a wood combo, and then a contrasting colour or a bright colour. So we've got pink for this one, orange for this one, purple for this one, cyan, red and green. So here are some of the simple palettes that I have discovered. Using one of these palettes, I was able to make a small cottage that was just a very quick build, and it looks pretty good. Make sure for all your builds to add texture and different colours into it. It's very easy to do some of these roof designs by making sure that these roofs go a little bit curved, as a lot of cottages have that kind of curved look. So it's a very easy element to add to your builds to make it look a little bit more cottagecore. Another thing I added was some flowers and some flower patches. Make sure if you're going to add flower patches, try and add some differentiating flowers, so it's not just the same flower all the way around. You can also add some wheat patches because they just look really nice. They fit with most builds. If you want to make your area more cottagecore, then you have to like building custom trees. It's kind of a given for cottagecore builds. So over here is two designs of trees that you could add into your world. We've got some oak, adding some little fences in order to make some branches, and some mushrooms down the bottom. We've also decorated the ground with some moss and ferns, just to make it a little bit more natural. This one we've got some spruce wood and some spruce fences. We've also decorated with some mushrooms and red flowers, and the floor being a little bit more muddy and dirty compared to the moss one. Custom trees are a very good thing to add to a cottagecore world, just because they always look really nice, and using the stripped wood variants makes it a lot more pastel and muted of a colour tone, which fits a lot more with the cottagecore aesthetic than some of the more harsher wood tones. There are also a few decorations that you can add into your world that makes the whole area look a little bit more cozy. One of these things you can add into your world is an infinite water source, but decorated as a well. Wells are super nice to decorate now because we've got chains, which makes it look like there's a whole bucket that's going down. Super easy design, super simple, that I just made this up on the spot, but you can do any designs because they all look good. Also add some more flower patches here because, you know, cottagecore aesthetic. We like it. Lanterns are also really good to add as they have just such a already cottagecore theme to it. So you can add some light posts or just lanterns around the ground, which will just look just as good as each other. Another thing to add to your world is make little cute bridges around. Whether you don't have a river, just make a little man-made one and make some small bridges. This again is a very simple design that you can add with just some fence gates, trapdoors and different wood types. Very simple, it looks quite nice and super easy to build. When I think of cottagecore, I think of rolling hills. So farmland, rolling hills, just very smooth landscaping. Now, smooth landscaping is a lot harder to do in Minecraft because of the blocky textures, but you can add a lot of smooth landscaping by just using some terraforming or adding some rolling hills with farmlands. This is a very simple way to decorate your farms, especially if your cottagecore world is in survival. Just make them a bit more rolling, add some hills, and it adds a whole lot more coziness to the atmosphere of your builds. Now, all of these builds are well and good, but if you want to build cottagecore, what biomes should you build? Well, lucky for me, we are surrounded by many of the biomes that you can pick for a cottagecore build. So, first off being the plains biome. So right here we've got a big plains biome. This is the perfect biome for cottagecore. It's just so flat, it's rolling hills as I said for the landscape, and it's super easy to build. Loads of flower patches around just randomly. It's a perfect place to build a cottagecore base. But if you can't find that, you can also build in the forest, which you should be able to find 100% because these things are everywhere in Minecraft. So yeah, forests are really good, whether that be birch, dark oak, or just normal oak. They all look really good for cottagecore aesthetic. Of course, we had the very new biome of the cherry, and that is also a very perfect place to put your cottagecore fantasy worlds because look at it, it's cherry, it's pink, it's cozy, it's pretty, it's perfect for cottage. Now there are some biomes that you should avoid if you're trying to build cottagecore. So some of the biomes include jungle, mesa, and deserts. Also, maybe try and avoid some more snowy biomes. They're not awful for cottagecore, but they're a little bit harder to build compared to some of these other biomes. There's of course many other things you can add into your world to make it look a lot more cottagecore, but I think the main thing is to stick with nature, add some coloured flower patches around your world, and make sure you stick with a select block palette. It's probably one of the most important things that you need to remember. Find a block palette or a colour palette that suits you, and stick with it. If you venture too much off of different colours, it could look a little bit strange and disjointed. So if you want to build cottagecore, just remember, pick a colour palette, add some cozy things, farmland, nature, and custom trees, of course. Now, one thing to note is don't be disheartened if your cottagecore aesthetic or world doesn't look as good as some of the other YouTubers that may do cottagecore quite amazingly, because they have something called this, shaders. So shaders will make a cottagecore, or any build really, look a whole lot better. It brightens up everything. I think shaders were seriously made for cottagecore builds because it just brightens everything up. It makes all the flowers look a lot brighter. It makes all the nature look a lot more natural. And of course the sun looks so pretty, the sky, and all the blocks just look so much nicer. It also makes the water look a lot more clear, and you know, it gives the whole area a lot better of a cottagecore feel. So don't feel too disheartened if maybe all your cottagecore builds don't quite look just as other YouTubers or people in general that make these kinds of builds, because shaders really do a lot for many of these cottagecore builds. But otherwise, that's about it. That's a very simple tutorial, I guess, on how to make your builds or your world a bit more cottagecore. There's a lot more things you can add, so we just went through a few simple ones, which were custom trees, wells, and bridges, but there's quite a few things you can build to make it look a little bit more aesthetic. That includes maybe some carriages or little market stands or marketplaces. They could look really nice in any cottagecore world. If these ideas helped you, let me know in the comments, and I hope you enjoyed it. Although this wasn't quite a long video, I think it was a very simple way to introduce you into the world of cottagecore. What aesthetic should I do next? I was thinking maybe fantasy, but I'm not too sure. If there's anything that you're not too sure about and you want to know how to build your world a little bit more in a specific style, let me know and I'll try and do a video about it to help you out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye!